Hello, Mr. Hausman, checking in? Oh no, it sounds like you're deathly ill. I'll have a staff member bring up some soup and medicine. And don't mind the quarantine team. It's just standard procedure.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast. I am, of course, your host, Glenn Hausman, and I am excited to have you here with me today. Okay, so straight up, you're probably looking at the timing on the show and seeing it's a little bit short. Well, that's because I got to be honest with you guys. I had a brutal week. The week before last, both my kids, they got sick, one then the other, and they had some sort of throat thing, and I was with them at home. And then I embarked on a big road trip this past week where I had the opportunity to do two great panels for the folks at DirecTV, and then headed on off to the Hunter Conference where all of a sudden my kids' illnesses started to catch up with me. So I've been a complete and utter wreck. Hopefully, in the interview you hear later in the show with Bhavesh Patel, the incoming chairman of AHOA, you won't be able to tell that I am suffering greatly. But then again, I suffer a lot, don't I? Because that's really what I'm all about. Suffering here for your needs. Okay, so I'm here. I'm in a hotel room, and I'm getting ready to board a flight, and I've got to be going to the airport pretty soon. But I did want to make sure I actually got some stuff on tape, got it over to our producer, Jeff Polly, over at Endpoint Multimedia, and get this show up for you. I'm sorry it's late, but what a week have I had being sick, trying to juggle multiple events, hopping from city to city, and all that kind of stuff. I know. Feel pity for me. I feel pity for myself, so it's okay. You can feel pity for me, too. Send your notes of pity to @TravelingGlenn on Twitter, or send it to me at glenn@rouse.media. Be sure while we're at it, let me give a plug to the good folks over at Hotel Management and Here to Stay TV for allowing me to work with both of them. I'm having such a great time. So today, I'm sitting at the Georgian Terrace Hotel, an Atlanta hotel in Midtown area, across from the famed Fox Theater, and boy, what a cool place this is. I'm having a great time. I'm very lucky to know some good people, and my good friend Chris Green over at Chesapeake Hotels, which handles this property, was kind enough to provide me with a room. Not just any room, but honestly, one of the best hotel rooms outside Las Vegas that I've ever stayed in my life. He's completely spoiling me. I don't deserve it. But the reason why I mention this is not simply because to thank him personally, and I do want to thank you so much there, Chris, for allowing me to stay in this amazing room. And I also wanted to thank J. Mark Williams, the general manager here at the Georgian Terrace Hotel, for giving me a foundation from which to recover a little bit from this illness and enjoy myself for a good 14 hours I was in, and then now I'm going out. But that's the way it kind of works here in the hospitality world, traveling from city to city. And I know because I see a lot of you guys on the road. I see a lot of you guys at events, and we're all doing the same brutal schedules, trying to balance our lives, trying to balance our careers, trying to balance our family, and make it all come together. And quite frankly, I cannot wait to get home today, because tonight, or whenever you're listening to this, I get home and I hop in the car and I go out to take my kids out to dinner with my family for their big 13th birthday. That's right. My twins are teenagers now, and whew, what can I tell you? I'm probably going to be in for something over the next couple of years. We'll follow this story as it develops going on in time. But before that, back to the Georgian Terrace. One of the things that I really appreciate about being a spoiled hospitality professional is how kind everybody is to each other. I mean, you know, we all help each other out. We do each other favors. We kind of all in it together, right? So it's amazing that how we all support each other, because we realize in some way, while we compete against each other, there is room for everybody to be successful, and we all are friends. And it's amazing to me how many people switch from one company to another, and we all kind of make our way around different organizations throughout our careers. So, you know, practically speaking, it's also great to be a mensch, and for my non-Jewish friends out there, mensch is really just a super good person who does nice things without any real end motivation. Okay, so I'm here at the Georgian Terrace. I'm having a great time, and it's making me think about how lucky I've been in the past. And one of the things in the past that I get the opportunity sometimes is you walk in and you get an amenity basket, right? All of my hotel professionals out there are probably, spoiled in this kind of way too, and all my road warrior friends out there, if you hit a particular status, my guess is sometimes you've come into contact with, the cheese plate, the nice bottle of wine, all that kind of stuff, which is always sweet and lovely. But I have a problem with the cheese plate. While it's an amazing gesture, it always seems to go sideways on me. I don't know if this problem happens to all of you folks as well, but for me, it happens pretty regularly. What happens is you come into the room, there's the cheese plate. It may have some plastic wrap on it. It may not have some plastic wrap on it. But the fact is, you don't know how long that cheese has been sitting out there. And I know from experience, cheese does not perform well outside a cooling environment for way too long. And a lot of times when you walk into a hotel room, they've got great energy systems, of course, to help save the property money and make it run more efficiently. But that leaves, when you walk into a room, it leaves it a little bit warm, right? Don't you think? So you got your cheese in there. You got your warm room in there. Your air conditioning comes on. You feel better, but your cheese is not going to recover like you are. And the problem is that cheese looks good. It may feel good, but I'm not necessarily sure I want to eat all of that cheese unless, of course, I eat it as soon as I walk into the room. But typically, I'm not much of a cheese eater upon arrival in my hotel. I kind of like it as a evening treat when I come home from all of my events. You have a little cheese. Sometimes there's some grapes on there. You have that little fruit, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem that I found with the cheese plate is most rooms don't have a refrigeration unit in there that's the same size as the plate of cheese, so you can't really stow the cheese in a refrigerator in order to keep it fresh over multiple days, especially or even just to that night when you come home from whatever events you're at. So you got your cheese plate out there, it kind of sits there, and over time it starts to get sad, but then housekeeping comes into your room, and thank you, housekeeping, for always being so awesome. Hardest job, I think, in the hotel when it comes to physical labor. They don't know what you're thinking about that cheese plate. So instead of removing the cheese plate from the room, they kind of leave that cheese plate in the room, and it kind of stays there, getting sadder and sadder looking and kind of getting a horrible brown film over it and becoming discolored and really not an appreciative thing that I like in my life. So unless I put that cheese plate outside of my room, kind of sticks around for days and days and days until I leave getting sadder and more depressed and more dangerous as time goes on. Now, I'm not saying I don't appreciate cheese plates, but in that case, it becomes really difficult to enjoy the cheese plate, right? So the hotel is kind enough to provide me with the cheese plate. They're spending the money on the cheese for the cheese plate. They're spending the labor to come up to the room, and then eventually to take it out of the room. So it's a big cost, and it makes a nice impression, but the guest doesn't necessarily fully enjoy it. Which brings me back to the Georgian Terrace. Instead of having the classic cheese plate, instead they had different types of treats, and I'm absolutely delighted. And again, thank you guys for providing this to me. But what I found was really cool is they had homemade beef jerky. Now, we all know jerky seems to be taking off as the latest trend, and I am a jerky fiend. In fact, one of my travel tips, I should have a little sound effect here, travel tip, is I like to bring cereal bars and beef jerky with me on the road, because when you're traveling a lot, sometimes you don't want to eat that crappy airport food, or a lot of hotels have crappy food too, and you simply don't want to stuff any of that stuff down your throat. So I like to have some healthy cereal bars and some beef jerky with me to feed the beast, but not make me regret eating in the long run. I know you guys are sitting there going, hey, Glenn, you don't look like you eat responsibly. And after some of those fried chicken pictures I put up online this week, I know I sometimes don't eat that well, but at least I'm not whole hogging, right? I like to tease myself into thinking that I do good for my body. So I carry my beef jerky, which I loved having here. It was not like one of your branded beef jerkies, but a homemade beef jerky, and it was absolutely phenomenal. They also had these candied pecans, some little package of molasses cookies. I had a little nice fruit plate and some chocolates as well. All stuff that holds up well without a refrigerated environment, and it really makes an impression on the guests as well. So I encourage all you hoteliers out there to think about that amenity gift bag a little bit differently. Healthier nuts and legumes and all of that kind of stuff that may not be susceptible to the heat in the room, I think would be a great idea. It's on trend, and it really satisfies your guests' needs. So think a little bit differently about that. Oh, and also, I didn't get that bottle of wine, which is cool. I'm not really a huge drinker, especially on my own in a hotel room. Instead, I had a local craft beer, a Sweetwater 420, a Coca-Cola Classic made with real sugar cane, and an orange Fanta. What a fun little choice there. How different, how interesting, how distinct. And I think in the end, it really is going to help me connect better with this hotel property because it's different, it's new, it's not just that same old that I get in every single hotel. Well, all right, that's a huge exaggeration. Not every single hotel, but every once in a while when I do get an amenity, they do have a general sense of sameness to them. All right, so on today's podcast, I had the distinct pleasure of talking to Bhavesh Patel. Now, Bhavesh Patel is a really cool guy. I've known him for a long time, and I've watched him as he ran to be part of the AHOA board, took over that first year as secretary on the board, and has made his way up. As you're hearing this, he's still vice chairman, and he had the opportunity to plan this year's Asian American Hotel Owners Association Conference, which is going to be held in San Antonio, Texas, coming up this April. It's going to be the largest crowd ever. They were telling me they have over 6,000 folks coming to this year's event. How unbelievable, how incredible. And what a lucky break for this dude. Yeah, that's right, lucky break for Glenn. Because why? Because as you guys already know, this podcast, this No Vacancy podcast here, is now the official podcast of the annual convention. And I'm really excited because I am going to go there, and I'm going to have a studio out front of where the trade show is and where the registration is, and I'll be broadcasting live on the internet with video, with audio, all sorts of fun stuff. And I'll get all the information and all the interviews out to you folks with this podcast theme. So you won't have to miss a thing. You don't have to tune into anything else special. But if you do want to watch the live interviews, we'll have more information coming up in a show as we get closer to the day. But expect to be able to watch us stream. We're going to have a multi-camera shoot there, so it's going to look really slick. It's going to look really hot, and I am so excited to be part of this. And a big thank you to CEO Chip Rogers of AHOA and the entire board, including current chairman Bruce Patel and incoming chairman, who's now vice chairman, Bhavesh Patel. So I'm going to go straight to a commercial break, and then when we get back, I'm going to talk to Bhavesh all about what he's thinking about in terms of AHOA. We don't really get into the history of AHOA. You can check that in a previous podcast that I did. If I did my homework, I would tell you which day I ran that show, but it was last fall, I want to say in October. And also be sure to catch up with the podcast I did early in this year with Jagruti Patel, who was the incoming secretary at the time. She'll be moving up another slot. And boy, these guys are great. I have a lot of fun with them. My relationship with them is super duper because they are such cool people. They're doing fun, different, innovative things. And hey, for some reason, they had a lapse in judgment and asked me to be their official podcast. So I'm excited about all of this. I'm excited to have you listen. Continue to help me make this show something special. Tell your friends about it, please. Let's get some more 5-star approvals on iTunes. And please, I'm not asking you for money, just asking you for a little love. Spread the word around, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with people that are on the street. I don't care, just stop and go, hey, listen to that No Vacancy podcast, all right? So do that for me. Love you all. I thank you for your support. I may not be feeling well, but through it all, it is you guys out there listening to the show that makes me feel happy. I got to tell you, checking my download numbers, it's like crack, right? I am so addicted to it. It is so much fun going and hitting the refresh button and see those numbers go up, up, up constantly. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are the best. I love each and every one of you. Come say hello to me at AHOA. Come say hello to me at a lot of different industry events. And be sure to read my stuff in Hotel Management Magazine. And check out Bridge Street Global on YouTube and catch all of my videos for Here to Stay TV. Soon we'll have a home for them at heretostay.tv. But until then, check us out on YouTube. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll be right back after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to the No Vacancy podcast with me, Glenn Hausman. You're listening to this right now. That's right, right now. You're listening, but you're not the only one. Many others are too. So my question is, do you want to get noticed? Guess what? I can help you with that. Every single month, my content delivers more than 100,000 impressions. I know. I thought the same thing too. Now it's your time to get you or your product, service, or brand known by leveraging my network. I'll work with you to find creative solutions that are going to get your message to the ears and eyes that you need to attract. Just send me a note at glenn@rouse.media or find me on Twitter @travelingglenn. That's glenn@rouse.media, ROUSE.MEDIA. And while we're at it, Glenn has got 2 N's. Thanks for listening, and now back to more great content.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Atlanta, Georgia, Hunter Conference. Whew. Been traveling all over these days. I'm not quite sure where I am. It's a good thing that there's a big sign on the hotel that told me what city I was in, but I did manage to find one of the coolest people in the industry, Mr. Bhavesh Patel. How are you, sir?
Great.
Now, I'm psyched to talk to you today because you, sir, are the incoming chairman for AHOA. That is pretty darn cool.
I'm excited. I can't wait for the challenge. It's going to be a fantastic year. Just want to help the members out there.
Yeah, all right. So let me roll this back a little bit. You're coming in now, but this is now the realization, I assume, of a dream you had for a long time. It had to have started before you even chose to physically run for a board position. What made you initially decide to get into all of this craziness? Because it's a big chunk of your life is dedicated to this group.
It has been. It's been almost close to 9 years that I've dedicated my life to AHOA. So back before AHOA, I was always helping out hotel members in my area, state of New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania. Always helped out family members, but I saw a lot of issues that concerned me, and I wanted to make sure that how can we help our members, right? I saw AHOA as an organization. I figured that could help, and that's why I became one of the board members on AHOA.
Okay, but that's good. That's the line that you're supposed to give. But, dude, you really have to sacrifice a good chunk of your life, and you have a business that you're trying to run at the same time. That's a serious decision to try to make because you're really giving of yourself to help the community at large and sacrificing a lot of your own personal potential. How do you balance that decision and go ahead with really putting in money to invest in the getting a board position and then spending all the time doing it?
Well, again, you got to make sure you have a solid foundation, I guess. It's my family that's sacrificing, my business that's sacrificing.
Yeah.
But again, we've got partners, we've got associates in the business. When I initially said, hey, listen, I'm going to run for a board position, they said, that's fine. I mean, it's not going to take too much time. You've got a couple meetings and you got a couple events. But once I became an officer, they saw that I'm not in the office much. So they sort of understood, hey, listen, we need to step up our game a little bit while I'm away.
So that's great. So you put a team in place that is able to cover in your absence.
Correct. Yeah, we've got I've got family involved in many of our projects or hotels. So they've been able to step up to the plate and really help out.
Is it tough to kind of pull back and give them the control to do it? Because I sense that that's really what you have to do is allow them a lot of times to make decisions, which for me might be a little bit tough to kind of let go. How did you negotiate that? It
is very hard, but they still call me whenever and wherever. So I do have to pick up calls and say, hey, listen, we've got this project or we've got this issue. What do we need to do? So I'm still involved a lot when I can. I try to dedicate my time mostly to AHOA, but when I need to be involved with my business and my family, I do take that time out.
Right. All right. So when you did run, I guess that was 5 years ago?
2000 for the board position was 2009, and then I ran in Philadelphia in 2014.
Okay. Right. So you've been involved in this for a really long time. So now you're about to get to be the chairman of the organization coming up this April at the big annual convention that's happening in San Antonio, the 11th, 12th, 14th of April. Right. Yes. So you've been helping plan it. You've been getting ready for it. It looks like there's going to be record numbers. What's the experience like now creating such a big event where then all of a sudden you're going to be in charge of the organization after?
Well, it's a lot of time and energy creating and putting this event together. I've got a great staff in Atlanta that's been able to help, and I rely on them. We just give them some of the information that we're looking for. We say, hey, listen, can we bring in these people? Can we bring in these speakers? Can we bring in, this is what we're planning for the general sessions. This is what we're planning for educational classes. These are the evening entertainment. So we've got a great team in place in Atlanta, so I leave a lot of them to do the detail work. But I give my overall perspective and see what we're looking for.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense because it's very hard for you to be sitting in a room somewhere planning an event when you're really on airplanes and talking to your constituency and forming relationships and working up on Capitol Hill. And, man, I'm getting exhausted just talking about all the things that you're doing. How do you pull it all off?
Again, you've got to have great team players in place. So
yeah, I mean, just physically. It's exhausting.
It is very, very exhausting. Like you said, you don't know where you are. Half of the days you wake up and like, where am I? Am I home or where am I? So it is very, very exhausting because we're always on the road. I think last year we were out 200 days out of 365. So, again, it's just balancing, right? More or less balancing your time, your energy. And you know that, okay, today, this is what I've got to focus on. I've got meetings. I've got this, whatever it may be. But, I mean, it's just something that you drive and you get ready for.
So what are you feeling as you're about to become chairman of the organization? It's got to be the fulfillment of this dream that you had for many, many, many years.
Well, I never experienced that I would actually become a chairman of a great association like AHOA.
Right. And from the time you joined in 2009, the transformation it's taken is probably surprising as well.
It is. From where we were in 2009 to where we are in 2017, it's a great transformation. I mean, just the membership itself has almost doubled since being on the board. But again, I'm very, very excited because we've got a great year ahead of us. I mean, between some of the events that we're doing, some of the initiatives that we're doing, some of the stuff we're doing in D.C. on the advocacy end, as well as on the state and local level, I think it's fantastic what we're doing and how we're helping out our members.
Right. And I want to get into some of that more specifically. But before we do that, how do you create a great event? Because, again, the national conference is coming up. And I would urge everybody, if you are going to be there, very fortunate that this podcast is going to be the official podcast of the annual convention. So come on by. I'm going to have a great studio over there. We're going to be broadcasting live. And I'd love for you to come and by and give me your opinions on what you think about AHOA. I'm going to have some great questions to ask you guys out there. And we'll talk about it, and we'll make sure that you are heard, because that's really what you are all about, everyone being heard. So we want to make sure that you guys out there are heard. So again, come by. It'll be a lot of fun, and we're going to be broadcasting live, so you have a chance to be broadcast to the universe, which is going to be pretty exciting. But
I think our members are going to be excited too, Glenn.
I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's different. It's new, and it adds a little bit of a wrinkle to the event.
Correct. Yeah, I think again, this is something new that we're doing there with your partnership and your help. I think it's not only for our members to take in, but also our investors, our partners. Whether it's a vendor partner or a CEO or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
but
I've got a few of the CEOs that are going to come by and do some interviews with me, which will be great.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll make sure that I get up a list of the timings for everybody. So if you guys want to watch it at home, it'll be broadcast live, like I said, on YouTube and Facebook and some other places as well. So tune in for that. And if not, of course, the next day you could just download it at novacancy.libsyn.com. All right. Whew, that's exhausting plugging myself right there, Babish.
It is.
So how do you create the right mix at an event to make sure that it hits on all the fundamentals? Because you need to be productive for business. You need to inspire people, but you also have that community aspect of it. So you want to engage and entertain in a way as well.
So I guess our 3.5 day show, we start out in the morning where we are all about business, right? So we have our panels, we have our speakers, and it's all about business in the morning. In the afternoon, it's all about how members can make money, save money, and protect their investments, whether it's on the vendor trade show floor or whether it's going to our educational classes or taking part in our special interest group conferences, whether young professionals, the women's, or the independent hoteliers. And then in the evening, it's just time to relax. So you sit back, you have a great meal, and then we've got 3 days of great entertainment that our members love to just sit back, relax, and hear.
Yeah, and as far as the entertainment goes, you get some really, really huge names from, I guess, the Bollywood community would be fair to say. Because I always feel Bollywood is more of the movies side, but it's really the music side too, right? It
is. So, I mean, the first night we've got Osman Mir coming in. It's all about Gujarati songs the first evening, and he's got him and his group presenting. The next day we go from oldies to new Bollywood music. So we've got a flair. And then the last night is just an upbeat tempo night where we've got these Vishal Shaker and group coming in, and it's going to be on a high caliber upgrade event.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I try hard to go see some of those guys, but honestly, you start partying so late. It's really tough to get to for me.
Yeah, it's even hard for me sometimes. It's just these events carry on. We've got to be ready for the next day. So, but we're at every event, make sure it goes off well and everybody's having a good time.
I know, but I think there's something in the AHOA member DNA that allows them to power on. I see it all the time. It's pretty spectacular to see everybody there at 8 a.m. learning, but then out super late enjoying themselves as well. I don't know how most of these people do it. I need 14, 16 hours a day of sleep, so, it's a little tougher on me.
I think after 3.5 days of a AHOA conference, you go down and you just relax because, you're tired. We pack it in 3.5 days.
Yeah.
We've got full high caliber events, and we want to make sure our members all take part in that. But at the end of the day, you're sitting back, you're relaxing.
Yeah.
You want to enjoy the event too, right? So it's not about business. It's about networking at the end of the night. It's about enjoying. It's about, even if your spouses are there, them taking it in and enjoying the evening as well.
Beyond spouses, it's families. And that's one of the different things about the AHOA annual conference or I should say convention, than any other event that I've gone to. It's really that family atmosphere, and it's so much fun to see all those kids running around too.
It is, and that's what we're all about. Many of our membership, they're able to become hoteliers because of their family. We started off in a small mom-and-pop hotel where our family was all together. My dad bought a small property because he wanted to make sure that he took care of his family, was with his family. Mm-hmm. So we started off with small property, and that just keeps the family together. When we do events like AHOA conferences, whatnot, that it's not only a business atmosphere, but it's also a family atmosphere as well.
And I feel that that's modeled on the fact that most businesses that I see from AHOA members are family businesses, and then it goes beyond the family to support the wider community. It's kind of like, here's our family, but then we're going to help these other families that are cousins. I feel like everybody's a cousin to each other in your kind of world. And it's all, really, we're all in it for each other. Let all of our boats rise simultaneously, and that's not something that you see in a lot of other communities necessarily.
Well, exactly. So when my dad came over from England in 1976, him and my sister came over, looked at the States and see if there was an opportunity here, and he liked the opportunity. But the reason why he really came was to visit my uncles, and my uncles said, "Hey, listen, why don't you bring your family here, and if you like it, then we'll help you establish and get into a business." And so back 1978, when my dad brought the whole entire family here, we stayed at my uncle's house for a couple months, and then we were able to buy a property. And then in that property, we were able to develop it, modernize it. But we were able to stay together. I guess that's the biggest thing. And that helped us become a tighter niche.
And I wish overall in society we did that more. I think one of the things we've lost in America, and this is where I'm kind of just going off the rails here, but I think one of the things that we've lost is that close sense of family. I remember, when my family came over here in the 1920s and 1930s, for example, they all kind of stayed together, and grandparents helped raise the little kids. And I think that that's a really nice way to live, but with the burst of suburbanization and the automobile, we kind of all started to come apart. And I think that's had some sort of deleterious effect overall to society. Not that I expect you to start going on an entire diatribe here about the quality of society and all that, but I do think that having that family unit together and all supporting each other with the tight-knit family and the extended family really helps everybody just do so much better, and you can handle so much more.
I think so. Again, the group that I have is mostly with my family, so that helps me while I'm away. My family's taking care of our businesses, and that's help us achieve and grow as well. I've had uncles that have asked me, "Hey, listen, I want to get into a hotel business. What do I need to do?" So I've helped them anywhere from finding an asset, buying the asset, financing the asset, putting a flag on the asset. I'm always there for them. So again, family is very important to me. And I want to make sure I can help them out where I can.
Right. All right. Enough about family. I love them, but we got to talk about what's going to be happening with you in the next year. Again, we're just a few weeks away as we record this interview from you being chairman. What do you hope to accomplish? What are your goals? What are you thinking about just a few short weeks from taking over?
Well, we've got a lot on our plate for 2017. I mean, just with the national convention, we're going to have record-breaking attendance. Great events there, but from there we move on to all our different educational classes that we're going to be having. 170 events that we're doing throughout the course of the year.
170 events?
170 events between our conference, our regionals, our town halls, our SIG events, and then we have our educational classes as well.
Wow.
And then we do legislative events every month in Washington as well. So we've got a great year planned in front of us, but a couple of areas that I really want to focus on is education. Educate. You can never learn enough. I think that's very, very important for not only me, my board, my officer group, but also for the members out there. We're offering so many different classes. We're partnering up with hotel management and offering this class called Hotel ROI. We're having 7 one-day workshops, and it's knowing the market, wherever that workshop's going to be held, knowing the market, and then how to increase the profits of your business, your asset that you've leveraged or that you've just developed or financed or renovated.
Right.
So how can we maximize our profits, whether it's through a marketing plan, whether it's through OTAs, whether it's through social media? What do we need to do to maximize our profits?
All right, terrific. And let me give a little shout out to the good folks at Hotel Management, where I just happen to coincidentally serve as an editor at large with them, focused on education and helping with these hotel ROI events, bringing speakers in and helping with the educational content of it. What I really like about these events, and check it out at hotelroi.com, is that it's going to be so hyper-local focused. For example, the first one is in Houston, the second one is in LA, and if you go to these events, you're going to learn not just how to maximize your business, but the nuances and subtleties of your specific market that are going to be really important for you to know and be able to leverage and take opportunity from. And that's why I think they're so interesting and different than what we've seen before.
Yeah, I think this is a new educational platform that we're bringing to the table, and I think our members will get a great experience out of it, not only to increase their profits, but also to cut on expenses. Where's the best way they can cut expenses before the GOP and then after the GOP to achieve the bottom line that they're looking for. And then also it's going to talk about exit strategy. So you have this asset. What's the best way? When should we exit? What are we looking for when we exit? And that's all going to be done during this class. So I think it's going to be fantastic events.
Yeah, I think they're going to be great, too. And not to take away from any of the other events that happen throughout the year, but we're here at the Hunter Hotel Investment Conference. And like the other major financial conferences, we seem to talk in aggregate about the entire state of the industry. Nationally, we're going to be going up 3.2% in RevPAR this year. I think that's the actual number that's predicted. But the fact is that the numbers essentially irrelevant, because how does that really apply to my business? Because Houston, which is seeing a massive influx of properties, is very different than all the other markets, different from LA, different from Pittsburgh, different from Miami. So we really need to have that insider local intel in order to fully be able to maximize the opportunity.
Right, and I think this class will give you that insight that we're looking for. So we know that we're in the right market, or we're going to be developing the market, or should we hold off in the market? What the strategy is going to be for those markets.
And be sure to check that out again at hotelroi.com. But Bhavesh, you've got a lot of education that's going to be happening at the annual conference convention as well. What are some of the things that you think are important for hoteliers to understand? We are in a really fast-changing world. Here at the Hunter Investment Conference, David Kong, CEO and president of Best Western International, said that he's never seen the pace of change happen so furiously. That is not a direct quote. That is just my interpretation of the words that he said. But I think he's onto something. How do you continue to make sure that all the folks that you care about are armed with the latest information so they could be successful?
Again, it's all about technology, right? And then making sure we bring them the right tools to run their businesses, make sure we're educating the members in the right way, whether it's the millennials or whether it's the young professionals want to get engaged and want to build hotels. We're offering these development workshops with some of the brands this year. We're also doing it for the women's as well, because a lot of women want to come to the table and they want to be part of the business. So we're offering educational classes and a day with some of the brands as well. But then you've got these independent hoteliers and saying, hey, listen, what's in there for me? So we bring on all these different individual webinars through. We had 100 and something webinars last year.
100 plus webinars.
Yeah.
Wow. Look, how do you even have 100 topics?
Our great staff comes up with all these different topics.
That's amazing. All the educational stuff that you folks do is spectacular. I mean, with the 170 events throughout the year, 100 plus webinars, taking part in this hotel ROI series. When you're engaged in this organization, you're really getting access to some really great educational opportunities. We
are. But again, it's all about getting the right material to our membership and we're making sure we have the right classes. I want to go back, and it wasn't 100 webinars. It was 40 webinars that we did. So
well, I'm going to stick with 100. I'm digging my heels in on that one because it sounds really cool. All right, 40 webinars. Okay, cool.
Yeah, 40 webinars. I'm sorry.
All right, no. So that's all right. That's why we have a good conversation here, good dialogue. We can't remember everything at once.
Right.
I sure as heck can't. I just like to make things up, which is always a lot of fun too. So it's not just about education; it's also about advocacy. You tease a little bit about you go to DC every single month to meet with the powerful and connected. What are some of the issues that you're thinking about right now, as politics has seemed to have gotten a little less straightforward these days? I'd say.
So I think biggest area that we really need to focus on this year is going to be tax reform. We know tax reform is coming. It's been on the table for a while now with the new president coming in and Speaker Ryan talking about, hey, listen, we really, really need to make changes in the tax codes. We're worried about the 1031, which is going to affect...
Could you explain that a little bit to people?
1031 is a tax exchange where you defer your taxes. But what it does is it helps members grow their businesses. You have a Hampton Inn property and you want to go ahead and maybe build a Homewood property. Well, you're going to sell your Hampton Inn, and you're not going to pay taxes on it right away. What you're going to do is exchange the profits that you make from there and you invest into another property.
So it's kind of like when I sell my home and put it into a new home, I have a tax exemption from that.
Exactly. So all you're doing is deferring the tax. But there's talks about maybe abolishing the 1031, which has been a great growing vehicle for many of our members. That is one. The other area is, again, these frivolous lawsuits on ADA.
Yeah.
You see so many unscrupulous attorneys out there throwing these lawsuits at our members. How can we protect our members from this? So we've got Congressman Ted Poe out of Texas that has written a bill, and we're looking for support on that bill. And what it is, it's just giving us a cure period, right? And if our members don't fix it within that cure period, you go ahead and move forward with your lawsuit or your case. But it's just instead of paying that penalty, it just gives us time to fix the issue.
Right. What other issues are you thinking about these days?
The other issues are labor.
Yeah,
I think
I was just going to say
labor is very expensive, and there was talks about increasing minimum wage to $15. And again, it's not that we're not saying we don't want to increase minimum wage. But do it on a gradual scale. Just don't take it up from what it is now to $15.
Well, it's very easy in a society that's become quite divided for people to misinterpret that in a very clear way. Because the narrative could simply be you don't want to support a $15 minimum wage, for example, which makes you look like an evil business owner, right? But that's not the case. But the other side doesn't seem to appreciate how expensive it is to run a business and that your margins are thin already and that there has to be some sort of give and take. So how do you negotiate that minefield to be able to get people to understand where you're coming from but still kind of satisfy everybody's needs?
Well, again, I think you explain and say, hey, listen, we want to work with you. It's not that we're saying we don't want to go to the $15, but let's do it in increments. Because if that's not going to happen, you put a drastic change in there of $15. Again, our bottom lines are very thin as is. Then you see a lot of these businesses go into technology, where if it's going to go to $15 right away, then many of these companies are now implementing technology where it's just going to take the person away from the job, which we don't want to do. I mean, when we go in, we build hotels, we buy assets, or whatever it may be, we create more jobs. We want to make sure the jobs are there.
And let me interject that travel and hospitality is responsible for 1 out of 8 direct and indirect jobs in our economy, and it's so important. So you need to focus on that. But at the same time, if you jump up too quickly, you're going to get a Wendy's situation where all of a sudden it just becomes automated and the cashiers go away.
Correct. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all entrepreneurs. We're there to make money, but we want to make sure that we have the vehicles to make that money as well, or the investment. And if we have the capital outlay of human resources, there's got to be a fine balance of certain expenditures with that. And if that doesn't happen, then what do? You got to look at other avenues, such as technology.
Yeah, and but then that opens up another set of challenges where you need to have the right balance of automation that your customers are comfortable with, but doesn't replace that human emotional connection, which I think we can all agree on is the main driver for people wanting to come back to your hotel time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, look, human intervention is the key, right? Hospitality is the business we're in. We want to make sure that our guests get a hold of somebody, that if there's an issue or concern or whatever it may be, we want to make sure our guests get a hold of somebody right away. And if we go into automation too fast, I don't think that's going to be the case. So it's going to be a hard transition. I'm not saying it's going to happen right away. But again, we got to be careful on the guest expectation as well as the human capital resource.
Right, because the guests in some ways expect not to have some human interaction. For example, the whole idea of texting as opposed to calling to get help. That's something that the guests really want. But if they come down to the lobby, they probably expect to have a human interaction. So it's kind of a strange balance that you have to figure out. And I'm not even sure customers know what they want or what business owners can really figure out at this point either.
Exactly. I think we're at that stage where we're in between, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. All right. So anything that you're super duper excited about in terms of the annual convention? Any of the speakers that are going to be there that you are particularly relating to? I'm excited to see astronaut John Kelly. Is that
Scott Kelly?
Scott Kelly. Sorry,
Scott Kelly.
Yeah.
So I think the first day we've got a great speaker coming in, Marcus Lemoyne from The Prophet. I'm excited to hear him and hear his story. But I think the second day is we got an athlete coming in, superstar David Robinson, and how he was an athlete and then how he transitioned into the hospitality business and owning hotels. So I think I'm more key on him and listening to his story as well.
Right. Well, I'm definitely psyched to hear about Scott Kelly. I love space. I love astronauts. I think they're the coolest thing. One time I went to Kennedy Space Center and I had an opportunity to eat lunch with an astronaut, and that was one of the coolest things that I think I've ever done.
Well, we're hoping that he comes in his astronaut uniform, but
right?
We're not sure.
Well, that'd be super duper. Anything else before we wrap up here?
No, again, I think we're excited for the year of 2017. We've got a lot on our plate, but we want to make sure that everyone takes part in everything that we have to offer. We've got a lot of tools for everybody to make money, save money, and protect their investment.
Great. A lot of plugs here. Tell us where they can find you if you want to join the organization or if they want to attend the annual convention.
Well, we've got all the information on hoa.com. It has all my information. And if you have any concerns, issues, or just want to talk, all my information is on the website.
And I know I'm pretty excited to go see San Antonio, Texas, one of the coolest convention towns that there is.
It's going to be a great conference, Glenn. We're excited. Just the record number of attendees we're going to have there, but also just the different entertainment we have, the different speakers we have, the different classes we have. It's just going to be super event overall.
Awesome. And be sure to check out hotelroi.com for those series of local events. I know there's going to be one in Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, L.A., Charlotte. And I said, what else did I say?
Chicago.
Chicago? Yes, Chicago. Right. Whew. It's exhausting trying to remember all these things. I know it's only 7, but
yeah.
I need lots of lists in my old age. What can I tell you? All right, Bob, it was great talking with you.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate it.
And hey, guys, if you're at the AHOA annual convention, come by, say hello to me, as I will be broadcasting there live. I can't wait to see you guys, and I will be back next week with another episode of No Vacancy. That is on, unless I decide to become an official Scott Kelly impersonator and go up to that International Space Station. See you guys next week.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.